Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's lesson. We're going to get into talking about the basics in Unreal Engine using the Unreal Engine level editor and kind of showing how 3D level building starts. But first, I wanted to apologize for this being as late as it is. I meant to have this all posted at the beginning of the week, but I had some um, personal things that came up that uh, caused me to not be able to get to this. So I apologize for the late posting. I don't think that this is going to affect any project um, uh, uh, assignment. Sorry, assignment due dates or anything like that. But if it does, I'll make an announcement if I need to change anything. I'm just going to check real fast. Doesn't look like it, but all right. With that out of the way, again, apologies. But let's get started. So, um, first thing, like we discussed last week with Unity, I'm going to go through installing the engine, which Unreal Engine has a lot of requirements for running because it's a very powerful software. So you want to make sure that you have the ability to run it. If you don't, if your computer doesn't meet the minimum requirements to run Unreal, uh, in the Fall River campus, there is a computer lab at room K104, I believe, that is designated for the CIS department. We have all of the software required for everything for the game design program, including Unreal Engine installed in those computers there. So you can go into that lab and do anything that you need to do in Unreal. Um, I suggest while we're doing that, while I'm showing this, that you do this side by side with me because it's or while you're watching this because it's probably easier to follow along just to get used to the tools. Um, and also, um, I suggest you have a lot of space available on your computer because Unreal Engine is actually quite large. So real fast, I want to go into. Oh, I should probably the first thing you're going to want to do is go to unrealengine.com right here, um, and then if you click on the Get Unreal button there, it'll take you to this download page. So here's the system requirements. I'm going to open this up real fast. You can check to see to make sure that you don't have a problem running the engine. Unreal is a bit heavier than Unity is, so you want to make sure that you can run the engine properly. And like I said, if you can't, then if you have issues with that, then you can go into um, the computer lab to run Unreal. Um, so the first thing you're going to do is going to click on the download launcher, which will then download the Epic Games launcher if you don't already have it. Um, but you might have it from playing Fortnite or any other games in the Epic Games Store. It's the same launcher, which I'll open up here. And um, when you, I will update this later. I'm going to make sure that it's updated. I'll update that later. For this purpose, I don't need to do that. But when you open up the Epic Games launcher, you'll have, if you've used it before, then you'll know you'll have the stored library tabs where you can um, download and play games, very much like the Steam launcher. Um, and then there's another button here for Unreal Engine. If you click on that, then it'll open up the Unreal launcher, which here there's a couple of things that we care about. Um, the first one being our library. So if you click on the library tab up here, you'll get this. Yours will be a lot smaller. I have a lot of objects, a lot of assets and things in my Unreal library, as well as a bunch of projects. Um, and I have a couple engine versions installed. Um, but this is where we're going to install the engine. So in order to install the engine, what you're going to do is if you hit this plus button next to engine versions, then it'll give you an engine version icon here, and you can click on the drop down menu, choose which version of the engine you want to install. I have 5.5 already installed, but you're going to want to install 5.5, which is the most recent version. And then once you choose which version you want to install, you just click install. I have a couple different versions of Unreal installed, and this is for different projects. Uh, different projects, when we've created them in the studio, run on different versions of Unreal, and not often I don't upgrade those projects to the most recent version without reason, because sometimes some things that work in previous versions of the projects or previous versions of Unreal don't work in new versions because they've changed some things. You just want to be careful of that. But if you start your project in the most recent version of Unreal, then you won't have a problem. So once this is fully installed, which I need to update 5.5 to do this, but we'll deal with that. I'll deal with that off camera. Once this is fully installed, then you'll be able to click on the button where it says launch to launch 5.5. You can also, in the top right hand corner here, you can launch 5.5 from this. If you have multiple versions installed, you can use the drop down to find which one you want to launch, and then you can launch it. It's going to take a little while for me to launch, so I'm going to pause and wait for the next step. So be right back. So once it actually starts to launch the editor, you'll have this window here saying your progress in the bottom left corner. This is the initializer. This may take a couple more minutes, so I'll pause again. But once it's fully loaded, you'll get the starter menu. Oop. Okay. Once Unreal is finished launching, and the first time it does launch, it'll take a little while because it has to do a bunch of compiling and stuff. And the first time that you launch a project, it will do the same thing. Similarly to Unity. So if that took a little while, this will also take a little while. Just be aware. So once you're open your browser, it'll look like this. I have some projects and things in here. So when you see recent projects, yours probably won't have anything in there. But what we're going to do is we're going to get started by starting a new project. So if you click on the games button here, this will give you the different templates that you can use to create game projects. So the first thing that we want to do is it doesn't necessarily matter for the purposes of the course of using the level editor, but we want to decide on what type of game we want to make. Unreal Engine really specializes in 3D, and while you can make 2D games in Unreal, it's a little bit less intuitive than it is in Unity. So for this course, we're using Unreal to showcase 3D level design. So for that reason, I'm going to go with third person. This is going to give us all of the prerequisites, cameras, characters, and everything for third person game design. The next thing you want to do is once you click on the third person option here, you want to go down to your project default section, and here you just want to make sure that you can choose to either make a game in Blueprint or in C++. If you make a game in Blueprint or a project in Blueprint, you can convert it to a C++ project easily in the editor. If you make a game in C++, you can also do the same thing and convert it to a Blueprint project later. The only difference here is if you make a C++ project, everything that will be started will be in code. So you'll have to open up Visual Studio or another C++ editor to edit your code. Whereas if you open up with Blueprint, everything it will be shown in the editor application itself. And Blueprint, we'll get into this in a second, but Blueprint is a visual scripting style. So less actual hard coding and more using nodes and pins and things to connect your code together. So we're going to open up a blueprint project, and our target platform for this is desktop. You can also set it target for mobile. Important note for desktop versus mobile is scaling. So mobile devices are a lot less powerful. So you want to be aware if you're making something for mobile to start in mobile target platform. So you get all of the prerequisites, and you don't start making something that's very large and then have to scale it down for mobile. It's a little hard to do that. Um, and then quality preset. So this is just if you want to set it to your maximum quality settings for super detailed worlds and things and scalable, so you can more for mobile or for less powerful games scale the quality of your the engine itself. And then we also want to make sure that we check off the starter content. This is just a bunch of content assets and things to get you started, including kind of a base level to start building in, and a bunch of different objects and materials and things. So once we've chosen, made sure that all of that's correct, then we go to project location, make sure that this is being saved where you want it to be saved. By default, it saves it in your documents folder, and then you just want to name it. So I'm just going to name this level design demo. And then if you hit the create button, it will create the project and launch the editor. This will take several more minutes the first time, especially when you load it up, because as you can see down here where it says compiling shaders, there's a lot of shaders that need to be compiled, and that can take a while. So I'm going to let that load up and pause the recording, come back when it's all launched. Okay. Now that is done and we have opened up our editor, I'm actually probably going to cut this first part as its own video, just to have the steps of opening up your first project, and then we'll get into actual level design. But real fast, just so you can see what we've got going on here. Inside of our main window here, this is our viewport. And the viewport, if you right-click and drag, you can pan around the scene. This is the third-person template starter map that we get for starting the third-person content. And I'll go into kind of what's going on here, because as you can see, we've got a nice sky and a couple objects and everything, and I'll explain how to set all of that up in the next video. So be right back in the next one.